the Packers say, well, you want to take a voucher for next year? That could be dead by then.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, they give you an option. Take the credit for next year.
All right, welcome everyone.
That's my kid.
To the Planning Commission for the City of Delafield.
To
call the meeting to order. If you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Sally, welcome back. If you could help us with the roll call, please.
Certainly. Mayor Kent Atwell.
Present.
Alderperson Tim Eicher.
Here.
Dave Greenway.
Here.
Dan Jaschinski.
Here.
Ed Merrick.
Here.
Jim Ryer.
Here.
Laura Schultz.
Here.
Bob Weiler is absent at the moment. Planner Amy Barrows.
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we have 3 public hearings tonight. I'm going to go through each one, and then we'll move on to citizens' comments. First one is public hearing number 1, amended conditional use permit site plan, tax address DELC 0742.013-4703 Vista Park Court, Delafield. Park Lawn Village, LLC, All Concrete Construction Incorporated. Amended conditional use to allow the replacement of an existing sign with a larger sign. Are there anyone that would like to speak to this public hearing? Anyone like to speak? Seeing none, public hearing number 1 is now closed. Public hearing number 2, amended conditional use permit site plan, DELC 0793.990.002, 218 North Cushing Park Road, Delafield. City of Delafield, Tyson, Strankman, Sunvest. Amended conditional use to allow the installation of fencing around recently approved solar panels. The configuration of the panels may be modified. Is there anyone here to speak to public hearing number 2? Public hearing number 2. Seeing none, public hearing number 2 is now closed. Public hearing number 3, amended conditional use permit site plan, DLC 0793.990.001, east of 218 North Cushing Park Road, Delafield, Heartland, WPCC, /Tyson Starkman Sunvest. Amended conditional use to allow the installation of fencing around recently approved solar panels. The configuration of the panels may be modified. Anyone here to speak to public hearing number 3? Number 3. Seeing none, public hearing number 3 is now closed. We'll move on to Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 24th. Is there someone that would like to motion for approval or make changes?
I move to approve the minutes of the meeting of June 24, 2020.
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, item number 2, City of Delafield citizens' comments pertaining to subjects on the consent agenda. Just 2 items on the consent agenda tonight. Anyone would like to speak to the consent agenda? Seeing none, citizens' comments for the consent agenda is now closed. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. So, Hillside LLC applicant Matthew Krewalt, you are approved. And applicant Delafield Chamber of Commerce, you are approved. You're more than welcome to leave or continue to join us for the rest of the meeting. Okay, item number 4, City of Delafield citizens' comments pertaining to items on or off the agenda. Are there any citizens' comments tonight? Any citizens' comments for anything on or off the agenda? Seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed. We'll get into the meat of the business here. Unfinished business 5A, DELC 0826.997.001, 3660 Kettle Court East, and DELC 0807.985.013, 3708 Kettle Court East, Delafield. Owner Rayleigh LLC, applicant John Kuntz, MSI General. Applicant seeks approval for site plan and appearance review to construct a 10,000 square foot addition to the existing manufacturing building and additional parking, I believe, which is Tanis. John, would you like to come on up?
Sure.
Please state your name and address. And Amy, you want to give us an overview?
Sure, so I'll be pretty brief. John was at the meeting last month for conceptual review and approval. They had 2 lots of record. They recently submitted their certified survey map for recording, so the 2 lots will be or are combined into one. They're proposing a 10,000 square foot addition on the east side of the property. At the last meeting, the Plan Commission was favorable to the architecture and the east facade, which was going to be metal, knowing that they're going to put in a future addition with some small windows. However, they were asked to come back because they needed to submit more detailed landscaping, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management plans. They did submit some plans recently, and after review of our engineer, and myself, there are still some concerns. So we'll just go through the pending items and keep that in mind, because you can decide then at the end whether or not you want to approve it subject to staff review, the planner and engineer, or if you need the items to come back to the Plan Commission. So with the site plan, this is pretty similar to what you saw at the last meeting. Again, and I apologize, it's a little small on the screen. I can probably minimize that. So the one item on the site plan that we talked about last meeting is they're proposing a new dumpster enclosure, because their existing enclosure is where the addition is located. So they did show where that'll be placed on the east side. The only detailed rendering we have of that enclosure is this other site plan here, elevation rendering. So you can see that it'll be covered in, I'm assuming, the same masonry materials as the building, John?
Correct, it'll be, masonry to match the split face masonry on the building.
Okay.
On 3 sides and then a standard gate on the front.
So this is the dumpster enclosure. There's no landscaping proposed to further screen that enclosure. I believe the applicant stated that the existing dumpster enclosure does not have any vegetative screening. Then going back to parking, let's just go back to a plan for parking. Do you want to make any other comments regarding the dumpster enclosure?
No, we're certainly open to screening it with some landscaping. We were just trying to relocate it on the site. The one they have right now is surrounded by asphalt, so there's no landscaping around it. But seeing that it's now in a green space environment, we'd certainly be open to putting some plantings in front of it. Not an issue at all.
Okay, so then the parking lot is similar to what you saw at the last meeting. They're proposing 50 stalls. However, the stalls still don't meet the aisle distance requirements. Some of the stalls don't meet the size minimum requirements. So, we would ask them to come back and modify that plan so that it can be striped in accordance with the code. The way they have it designed right now, they would meet the minimum parking requirements, but one thing we talked about at the last meeting is obviously if they stay within the same asphalt area and they comply with the code, they're gonna have to reduce the number of stalls. But they have a significant area on their property to increase parking at a later date, and they didn't feel that they needed this parking. They're more so proposing it because it's a requirement. And so they would like the Plan Commission to consider approving the plan subject to them leaving enough space available for future parking.
So you're willing to bank it?
Bank it.
Yeah, this is the existing parking lot that was put in, and so what we did is we surveyed it. We just show on the plan how it's striped right now. Fully realized that this, again, was never fully approved by the Plan Commission, by not us, by the neighbor that put this on. And so Tanis themselves, they only have 70 employees, and so they don't need the parking. They have 91 stalls right now. We're going to take away 18 because of the addition. They're fine as far as parking needs, but with, like Amy said, the actual zoning requirements were a little short by a few stalls. Once we would propose restriping this lot, it's just a matter of restriping it so that it actually meets the parking stall size and aisle size requirements. We showed you what's there right now. Again, we didn't do it, but we're trying to make it right for the city. So
Right, but-
back to what Ken said, we would bank the extra parking. There's
Yeah.
plenty of room on site to do that. It meets the needs of the operation of Tanis, and we were hoping that that would be a reasonable solution to present.
And then moving on, the code requires that new access drives be at least 24 feet in width. I believe theirs is going to be around 20 feet. They do have one-way traffic and are asking that that be reduced because it's not two-way traffic. And I believe the existing entrance is narrower than 24 feet as well.
Yeah, all the truck traffic around the site is one way. The existing drive is only 19 feet wide. So when we did the layout, we just took the existing drive and shifted it over. We did not look into what the city requirement was, so I appreciate Amy bringing that to our attention. But they're going to continue to use one-way traffic around the building. They have signage. All of their deliveries, they come in on what would be the east side of the building, and then they circle around and exit on the left side. So both aisleways currently are 20 feet wide, actually 19 feet wide, and we are just proposing to keep it the same way since it is one-way traffic.
Okay, and then kind of on that same note, with parking, the ordinance does require, hold on, looks like we're stuck. The ordinance requires that there be landscape islands on parking that includes more than 24 stalls, or there can be an equivalent number of perimeter plantings if that doesn't work out. So the applicant, I believe it's their goal to provide perimeter landscaping since the parking lot is already present. But we would ask for a more robust landscape plan. Right now, we don't feel like it's accomplishing that goal. So here we go. Was it zoomed in too far? So right now, what they're proposing, and they actually have 4 honey locust trees proposed along the east side of the building as well. For some reason, that's not appearing on the plan that was submitted. And there's another item tonight where the color changed. But there's 4 locust trees, and then they're proposing some planting beds north of the parking lot, and then some plantings north of the addition. So we would like to see a little more planting around the parking lot, a little more planting around the dumpsters, and then this bed in the northwest corner of the parking lot is actually part of the bioretention facility, and there's some grading there, so they're going to need to revise that landscaping. And then we would like to see those trees that were proposed. Again, they're lined up along the east side. They're in the same corridor as the swale, and so they probably would not survive. So some adjustments need to be made. But the plantings on the north side of the addition look good.
Isn't that where the expansion is? Future expansion on that side?
On the east side, are you saying? Yeah,
Where those
so
locust trees would be?
yeah, east of the addition. They would be east of the addition.
But you're talking about the next
They would be in the
addition.
future edition. So why even bother
Oh,
putting them there?
Yeah,
they're
good
looking-
point.
Yeah,
Because they're going to come out.
Yeah, we were trying to, mitigate the trees that are gonna come out now, so we put 4 in. We'd certainly be open to the ability to maybe place them elsewhere on the site, maybe more towards the front of around the parking lot, for instance, but we wanted to comply with the ordinance of the 2 trees that are coming out. One's actually dead, it's already out, but by matching the caliper with the 4 new trees.
But I'm just saying, I'd
Yeah,
put them
Yeah.
I think that's
outside of the next
If you're gonna do a next edition.
edition.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
think that'd be a practical solution for sure. So, Amy and I spoke, we were trying to accomplish, showing that we're open to landscaping that parking lot. Again, we're trying to make it right. There's already some bushes there that were previously there, and our intention would be to put landscaping around the front of it, and if we could put the trees around the parking lot or move them over farther to the east so they're kind of outside the footprint of the future expansion, we'd be open to that too. We don't want to skimp on the landscaping, but it's a little bit of a tricky solution for us because we're trying to solve an issue that sort of isn't our issue, but it is our issue. So we're coming up with
This is our chance to kick the cat.
This is our chance to kick the cat, yeah.
John, so a couple of thoughts. One, I think it'd be a good idea on that landscape plan then to maybe put a dash line of that future addition so we can all see.
I
You don't want
agree.
the root systems of new trees
Yeah,
to get in the way or
I
anything
agree.
like that.
I agree.
And then I know one of the comments of the engineer was that the stormwater facility itself should have some more native plantings or we should understand and know the diversity there. So maybe that's where you could add a little
Sure.
landscaping too.
Yeah, just to touch, there's an existing stormwater basin that we didn't have access to really any as-built or anything of that, and so we put a calculation together, we submitted it, and then Brian at SEH, or Brian, was able to dig up some as-built on it, and so we're working with him, we're gonna do some infiltration studies just to verify that all the calcs still work. Again, you're modifying something that was built 20 years ago. It's been maintained very well. They've done a good job maintaining it, but it's just grass. You know, there's no plantings in it like you would see now if it was a new stormwater basin. So we are endeavoring to get all the answers on that too.
So I did pass out the engineer's letter to everyone. You know, with that being said, as soon as that letter goes out, the applicants start revising the plans. So they've already addressed some of these comments. You know, a couple of the, I would say, bigger issues are the landscaping conflicts with stormwater and the need for some soil testing to ensure that infiltration will actually function the way it's being proposed. So they will continue to work with an engineer on that. And then with lighting, we talked about the lighting on the building at the last meeting, and it's pretty standard wall lights. But then they're also, at the last meeting, they showed a picture of the existing solar lights that are in the parking lot. I think there were 2 of them. 3. So now they're going to remove those, and they're proposing 4 pole lights. I believe they're 20 feet in height, 3 extra inches for the post. They're going to be submitting updated photometrics to make sure that they comply with our calculations. They did submit calculations, but they include a different type of formula than what the code requires. So we just need to review that plan.
Yeah, our photometrics, I think our lighting designer was looking at the wrong layout, so he was going off of a maximum average of 1 foot candle, and then it's actually 1.5. So I do have revised, it's just a matter of switching out the light heads to get the added foot candle counts on the parking lot.
Okay.
So again, we have no issue doing that at all. It's just our lighting designer was looking at the wrong calculation when he spec'd out the light heads. They will not be solar powered though, they will be normal light poles.
We talked about stormwater management, so I guess I would just say if you do approve the item tonight, that it be subject to the revised landscape plan, addressing the comments in the report, revised site plan that complies with stormwater management and the parking requirements. You should identify whether or not a 20-foot access, one-way access is acceptable. That they submit a detailed rendering of the dumpster enclosure, including the type and color of enclosure and any vegetative screening, and that we review revised photometrics and associated lighting that complies with the ordinance, and that all stormwater requirements be complied with. And then the stormwater agreement has to be reviewed by Common Council. And this item, because of its significance and site plan review, would need to go to Public Works Committee as well.
That was gonna be my recommendation. Get this thing to Public Works. Yeah. I don't
So the
know.
question is, do you feel comfortable with staff doing the things that were mentioned?
This is quite a list.
Or do
We
you
don't normally with
feel
these
more
many
comfortable
items.
coming back with some documents?
I think I'd feel more comfortable if they came back with more documents. It's quite a list.
You know, Public Works is next week.
Do you want them to go to Public Works now or wait until they have the information that they need?
Either. I mean, we've approved on things like this as
Okay.
long as, you know, the board members see it and know what we're talking about. If you could get as much done as possible
Yeah, I
before
think
next week, Wednesday.
Public Works is gonna be mainly concerned with the stormwater. I assume.
Stormwater, that 20-foot one-way, look at that.
Is it the opinion that even though they've had 20-foot aisles since they started, that they're not allowed to have them anymore?
I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
Okay.
A normal traffic lane's 12 feet, you're going
Yeah.
20 feet. But those are items that we'll look at Public Works and this list, that however much of it you can knock out by then.
I think we've got most of it knocked out already. The only thing we're waiting on is trying to get again, we're trying to solve some issues that just aren't on file. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit what Brian told me at SEH when we called last week.
Right.
It works on paper, but we don't have as-built or we don't have accurate updates of an existing stormwater pond, and so we're just trying to come up with the right calculations and data to back it up. I did talk with the maintenance guy at Tanis. I mean, he's been there 20 years. He had no recollection or anecdotal remembrance of that stormwater pond ever having an issue. You know, it's always functioned just fine, because I asked him, I said, does this ever spill over? Does it ever fill up? And he's like, no, it's
That I
actually
get,
fine.
but I'm pretty certain 20 years ago, we didn't have an infiltration part of our code.
Exactly.
That is now in there.
Right. So we're gonna do some infiltration testing, hopefully at beginning of next week, and I'd be happy to come to the Public Works meeting next
Well,
week.
we could approve it contingent on Public Works approval.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, we could do that. And then we aren't delaying it another month
Well,
if people are comfortable with that.
And if it's a big issue at Public Works, and then we gotta come back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we understand.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Well, I think given the fact we were just provided with this 5-page letter from SEH to digest, and I defer to the Public Works Committee to use its expertise and experience, and we rely on that pretty heavily. And so from my viewpoint, I would agree that we could defer it essentially to Public Works, but with the understanding that if there's an issue, we got to come back here. And it's just, because
Understood.
all in all, from the moment this has been brought to at least my attention, our attention, you and MSI have worked diligently in trying to make chicken salad out of what. And I think you've done a good job of that, but we just need confirmation of it through the process, and I think that would be the right thing to do. I agree with Dan's position.
And I'll take a swing at the,
yeah, because that's good.
Okay.
so,
It's a big
Like
one.
the chicken salad.
and some of them I think will end up in the general category of.
Get ready for tweaks.
I'm ready.
Staff, but, so I'll motion to approve item 5A for 3660 Kettle Court East and 3708 Kettle Court East, contingent upon a final landscaping plan, 20-foot access with one-way traffic approval, dumpster greenscape screening, along with a more robust landscaping plan, banked parking, stormwater management and erosion control, lighting plan, and other items addressed by the engineer's letter dated July 22nd, 2020, contingent upon, to work with staff on those, and contingent upon approval by Public Works.
And recommend to council?
And I definitely recommend to council of the same.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
You might have beat me there. You choose, Sally.
Oh my gosh, the power. Okay, thank you. I'll
All
put it
right.
down as Dan. I heard him.
All right, Sally, you good with that? That was a long one.
I think so. I've got approval of 5A contingent upon a final landscaping plan, 20-foot access with one-way approval, the dumpster, greenscape, and more robust landscape plan, bank parking, stormwater management and erosion control, a lighting plan, the items dated in the engineer's letter of July 22nd. We're going to work with staff on those, contingent on Public Works approval. And I'm sorry, were we recommending to common
Yes,
council?
we are.
Okay, there it is. And Dan seconded.
Winner. All right, is there any
When
discussion?
is the Public Works? Is it Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Wednesday at 6:30.
Right here.
So, John, if you make revisions with stormwater before then, just remember that Brian's got to review the plans beforehand too, so
I'll
the
probably
earlier the better.
Call Brian tomorrow and, yeah.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to 5B, DELC 0807.985.005, 3655 Kettle Court East, Delafield, owner 3655 Kettle Court LLC. John Baker, applicant AM Vehicles LLC, doing business as Auto Elegance Collection. Applicant seeks approval for a business plan of operation to operate an internet auto sales business out of the building.
John Parker.
John, you're doing it? Okay.
John Parker, and not Jason. Got corrected for the record.
I have you down, don't worry.
What address are you using on this one?
What's that?
What address are you using on
I
this
don't know, I
one?
got about 100.
I know, which one?
Do we use in-state or out-of-state?
Whichever one you
Out-of-country or
want.
what? I don't care. Do I have to say my
You got it.
address?
Yes.
3655 Delafield, Delafield.
That
Great.
one's easy enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, and that is important because we have multiple kettle court
You do
items
that.
on the agenda, so.
I don't know my neighbor.
And
That's
the-
part of the problem with that, I guess.
So the property is at 3655 Kettle Court East.
Yeah.
So I have the image on here. It's on the north side of the Kettle Court. There is a building there now, which I can go to, since that's not super helpful. Here's just a little site plan of how big the building is on the property, if you can see that. So what the applicant is proposing to do is occupy the rear portion of the building to store vehicles that will be sold via internet sales only. And the number, can you see?
Is this me right here?
Yeah, I think they're both you.
No, that's incorrect. That's gotta be Corcoran. No, that's wrong. I don't have a dock that swings out like that.
You don't have a what?
I don't have a loading dock that swings out like that. Mine goes into the building. But I do
So-
have 2 retention ponds. I don't know.
It could have been tweaked. So what I did, John, just so you know, is I grabbed this site plan from the approval for the property
Yeah.
and sent it to, did I send it to you? And asked if it was accurate, so.
For real? Oh, come on. It's not the right, maybe it's the building, does it say 3655?
It should be that property, yes.
It's not right, but whatever, we can just go on, that's fine.
There's a building on the
There's a
property.
building. I swear it really is. Yeah, it's just there.
Do we know how many square feet?
It's 16,000 square, so it's 80 by 200 long. And
Okay.
it's divided with a firewall, it's got a loading dock, it's, yeah. about it.
Okay, so that's important to know because I'm using the square footage from this survey, which is 18,500.
And that's with the 2 mezzanines, or 3 mezzanines inside.
So what I have is that they're proposing to use about 8,500 square feet for the storage of vehicles. Does that sound right?
That's incorrect. Probably about 5,500,
Okay,
maybe less, probably less.
okay.
Yeah, not that much.
And that you're storing 1 to 10 vehicles on the property?
That's about right, yeah. Inside only though.
Inside, no, the employee's already employed at Archon, so there's no additional demand for traffic. And just so that you all know, the Plan Commission actually approved this same use at 3776 Kettle Court East, which was stuffed puffs a couple of years ago on the consent agenda item. But when we looked at the code more carefully, it's not, internet auto sales is not a use specifically allowed in the district. However, the ordinance does allow substantially similar uses provided Common Council, the Plan Commission makes a recommendation to Common Council, and Common Council approves it. So that's why they're here. And, after looking at it, we did feel, or I felt, that it was a similar use because the other uses allowed in M1 include wholesale, warehousing, storage yards, garages for servicing and repair of cars, trucks, and other equipment and machinery, and storage and sale of machinery and equipment are some of those listed uses. And there's no retail sales out here on the property. So with that, unless John has anything to add, I would recommend approval subject to following conditions and contingent upon Common Council approval. That would include the storage of vehicles shall take place indoors only. Outdoor sales and storage is not permitted, and the property shall not be used as a retail sales location. Vehicles need to be delivered off-site by the operator, and a maximum of 10 vehicles are permitted to be stored on the property.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there going to be any vehicle repair on site?
Yes. 2 car lifts are inside there, inside the building. Really no repair, more oil changes.
Okay.
I wouldn't say repair, I would say oil changes and
Maintenance.
And maintenance, yeah.
Maintenance.
That's what we use it for
Maintenance of
primarily.
vehicles.
Exactly.
Okay.
No real
No.
repairs, like we're not pulling engines and transmissions, none of that crazy
Okay.
stuff, just maintenance, routine oil changes, brakes, stuff like that.
All right.
And we got 2 car lifts in there right now, and there's 3 cars in there. Not much. They keep a lot of them in the house.
So, and I think there's a similar use out here on Kettle Court.
Oh, yeah, Jeffers Motors probably, correct?
Yeah, what,
Up the street?
just kind of northwest of John's brand-new manufacturing building, which includes repair and I think some very, very minor
I think they do nothing.
internet
That's-
sales.
I know they do.
Abra's up there too.
Abra's up there too,
Yeah.
correct. I have a question. You stated that internet sales isn't allowed in anything, or?
It's not a use allowed in the ordinance. So what the ordinance allows is you can have similar type uses if it's deemed appropriate by the Plan Commission in Common Council.
I only remember back when I applied for it, and Roger was sitting there, and he made the comment, and I guess everybody was okay. He said, well, you're just internet? Yeah, correct, nothing, no sign, no nothing, just all of these sales through like Auto Trader or Cars.com. Very minimal, just kind of a fun thing, especially with the markets. Not great.
Do you think that the reason why it wasn't in this is because it's technically kind of new, internet sales for vehicles?
Not in the code, you
Yeah.
mean? Probably. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of these unique uses just
Right.
weren't thought about whenever the code was originally created. So certainly, just in talking to staff, we felt, it's not exactly the same as repair of vehicles. And so it was important to bring it to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
I had one question related to the prior operation, the internet was stuffed, I think it was called,
Yeah, you said stuffed puffs.
Stuffed
you said.
puffs?
Yeah, that wasn't me though. I sold them the building.
okay.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that too. I'm glad you asked that question.
That's
'cause
why-
that kind
Oh.
of threw me for a loop. I'm like, hey, that's not me. I mean,
Doesn't
No.
sound like a good sales
yeah,
pitch.
no, it's
For
not.
No, sorry.
Yeah, right.
The only reason why I put that in parentheses was so that you knew where the property was. It wasn't
Yeah.
meant to say that it's
Gotcha.
part of that operation.
Yeah.
It's just that because all these properties are all kind of blending, so.
A little
Because
bit.
that wouldn't have fit too much
Context.
with the substantially similar to other uses,
No.
stuffed puffs.
No. Well, do you recall, I mean, I built that building back in 12.
Right.
I occupied it for my ring manufacturing, and then I did the candy raisins out of the west side of it.
Yeah.
I sold the machine that made the candy raisins to these people. They wanted to basically lease the space so that they could get their selves acclimated to making their little marshmallows, and it took them a while, and now it's kind of crazy. They're building a massive factory in Pennsylvania. I hope they take it all out there and leave town, because it'd be nuts. But they bought the building, so I'm
So
okay
you were
with
not
that.
stuffed puffs?
I am not, no, I want
And
nothing
you
to do
still are
with
not
that.
stuffed?
I sold them the building, I sold them the machine that they,
Okay.
I sold that machine for $500,000. They put another $25 million into that building. It's like, maybe more. I mean, it's ridiculous. I
It's
mean,
a lot of puffs.
oh my God, dude. I mean, I'm not a marshmallow guy. I'm telling you, like, no thanks.
Maybe s'mores?
I can get you some if you want, but yeah, they
That's
make
a
good
joke.
s'mores. But yeah, so I'm glad you asked that, though. That was really a good
Tech-
question.
Technicalities.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
I'd motion to approve the John Barker AM vehicle proposal, subject to an approval to the Common Council. Subject to the storage of vehicles shall take place indoors only. Outdoor sales and storage are not permitted. The property shall not be used as a retail sales location. Vehicles shall be delivered off-site by the operator, and a maximum of 10 vehicles are permitted to be stored on the property.
I'll second and just highlight, I think that the line we're trying to walk is to not have this turn into a retail, car sales alley. It's not built to support the traffic and the lights and the
Absolutely.
headaches.
Tell me
So
about it, yeah.
it's just worth noting in the notes as we move forward.
I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Less traffic, the better.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention passes. Thank you very much.
Am I gonna still sit here for the other rezoning thing, or no?
We're moving
You
on.
don't
Nope.
have to.
Not you
I
next.
thought there was something else.
Okay.
Rezoning the other building. When's that coming up? Soon?
Last.
I'll stop.
There's an agenda outside if you want to grab it. Okay, so 5C, DLC 0742.013-470 Vista Park Court, Delafield, owner Parkland Village LLC, applicant All Creek Construction Incorporated. Applicant seeks approval for amended conditional use, which includes a plan development, site plan, and appearance review. Permitted signage for the replacement and enlargement of an existing sign. You guys want to come on up and state your name and address, please?
All Concrete Construction,
You got to do it into the microphone. Yeah.
Microphone.
We have people on TV that want to hear you.
All Country Construction Incorporated, West 235, South 5389 Big Bend Road, Waukesha, Wisconsin 53189.
Okay, and if you guys could just talk into the mics.
And who are you?
Shannon Tarnowski, and Larry Tarnowski is the owner of All Country.
Okay, thank you.
Secretary.
Okay, we're all set.
You want me to go?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so this item was on last month's agenda for scheduling a public hearing, so we've already discussed it, so I'll keep it brief. At the last meeting, the proposed signage was actually two-sided, and it is 94 square feet, just to refresh your memory. They did make a change. It's only going to be one-sided because they decided to run the sign parallel to County Highway R instead of the existing sign is more of on an angle to face both roads. So it'll be parallel to R. The face of the sign will face the right-of-way of the road, and it's about 18 feet from the right-of-way, no closer than the existing signage. The County Highway Department did approve it in relation to the road location. So I don't really have anything else to add since we, pretty much went through all of this last time. Other than I recommend approval to Common Council as proposed by the petitioner and subject to the conditional use agreement, which is included in the packet, being recorded with Register of Deeds.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
I guess we'd be looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as proposed by the petitioner and subject to the enclosed conditional use agreement being recorded with Waukesha County Register of Deeds, and recommend to Common Council the same.
Second.
All right.
Dave's got that one.
Oh, did you? I'm going to look at you next.
All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you for improving your sign.
Yes, looks very nice.
All right, DELC 0793.990.002, 218 North Cushing Park Road, Delafield. Owner, City of Delafield. Applicant, Tyson Starkman Sunvest. Applicant seeks approval for amended conditional use, which includes a site plan and appearance review for the installation of fencing around recently approved solar panels, which will also result in a reduction of the panel area. Amy.
Okay, so you've heard this many times too, so I'll again keep this very brief. They already received a conditional use for the solar panels. Right now, they're just proposing signage. The signage is 5 feet off of the road. It doesn't impact the stormwater facilities and remains on the subject property. Although there might be some minor modification to the solar panels, it's still achieving the same amount of energy, so it doesn't have an impact on the output. So I guess.
That's good news.
Yes. There's really not much else to add. It's a chain link fence, 6 feet tall. I would recommend approval to Common Council, subject to recording the CU agreement included in the packet.
Motion to approve, recommending approval to the Common Council, subject to recording the conditional use agreement included in the packet.
Second.
All right, did you get that?
I did, that was Jim.
All righty. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Great. Okay, 5E, DLC 0793.990.001, east of 218 North Cushing Park Road, Delafield. Owner, Delafield Heartland WPCC. Applicant, Tyson Starkman Sunvest. Applicant seeks approval and amended conditional use, which includes a site plan and appearance review for the installation of fencing around recently approved solar panels, which will also result in the reduction of the panel area. Amy again.
Okay, so same proposal, just to property to the east on the Delhart property. They're proposing a 6-foot tall fence around the perimeter of the solar panels. Again, a small modification to the area, being reduced, not expanded. So I recommend approval, subject to recording the CU agreement. Approval to Common Council, subject to recording the CU agreement included in the packet.
And that will be my motion.
Ah.
Second.
Okay. A little slow there. All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. Great, we'll move on to new business, 6A, DELC 0783.004, 1525 Weber Court, and DELC 0783.005, 1475 Weber Court. Delafield owner applicant, Michael and Courtney Rail. Applicant seeks approval of a certified survey map to adjust an interior lot line between two lots and a special exception from the minimum lot width standard measured as shore frontage. Name and address, please.
Mike Rail, 1475 Weber Court and 1525 Weber Court.
And Courtney Rail, same thing. I don't know the other address, but 1475 Weber Court.
Sounds great. Amy, you want to give us an overview?
Okay, so we had a couple easy ones, so now we're gonna have a little bit more of a challenging item. So the applicants own two adjacent, you own both of the properties currently, two adjacent properties on Weber Court. They just recently built a house on the southern of the two properties. And they are proposing a certified survey map, which also happens to require a special exception from the shore frontage requirements. And I'll explain it a little bit, that it's kind of confusing. But the shore frontage requirements being measured as the width at the shore setback. And so they're proposing the slight adjustment to the interior lot line in order to ensure an existing concrete slab that was incidentally constructed over the lot line remains on the southern lot. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Lot 1, which is the southern, the yellow parcel, or proposed Lot 1, I should say, currently conforms to all the RL1 zoning standards. So they are conforming. And Lot 2, which is to the north, is currently non-conforming to the shore frontage when you measure it at the width, when you measure the width at the shore setback. And so their proposal would, they modified their certified survey map. The current proposal is no longer more non-conforming, but it's still non-conforming to that 150-foot measurement. I will just quickly show you. I'm going to go back to their original proposal. So you may have seen this in the packet. Their original proposal was to just draw a straight line to the shore. And I think at the most the southern lot is trying to accept 8 feet at the widest point, and then angles to nothing. But because that would make the width more non-conforming, they modified the CSM to at least demonstrate that it wouldn't be any more non-conforming. So it's got this kind of funky little bump out in the lot line. So that makes it a little bit more unorderly in order to keep it more, no less non-conforming. So this is kind of complicated for a couple of reasons. One, we just talked about this at the last meeting. What is a special exception and how is it different than a variance? With the last item, there was a non-conforming lot issue, and the code actually did have some guidance related to the proposal shouldn't cause adverse drainage, and the proposal should be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and not have a negative impact. When you talk about this provision, shore frontage, there's actually no advice given to you at all. But a special exception and having an item go to the Plan Commission is less rigorous of a standard than going to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. So just keep that in mind. So then I just went to that that next step. Well, why would the width, the shore frontage standard at the width, be more restrictive for a new lot than an existing lot? And it would seem to be an effort to control density or impact of use on the lake. And in this case, you've got 2 lots. You're not creating any more than those 2 lots. You're not increasing density. There's no greater impact to the shore frontage. So although my report actually refers to the fact that they're not being more non-conforming, I would almost prefer they go back to the original CSM and have a straight line, or this just, realistically in the field, that's pretty hard to know where this little notch is. So I am recommending approval without overcomplicating it because I don't see a negative impact to what they're proposing. And then I also just want to point out that later in the meeting, we're going to talk about potential code amendments. Scott and I are going to look at special exceptions and variances and try to provide more specific guidance to what should be met and when they should be allowed. And I can't guarantee that will or will not impact the proposed use here with these applicants, and so they had asked to move forward so that they can carry on with their project.
So Amy, what's the appropriate way to reference the CSM without the erratic line drawing?
Like to approve that
Yeah.
one? So I would say to recommend approval, oh, and I do want to point out one other thing. To recommend approval of the certified survey map that is, it's got a date on it,
It's 7/10.
July 10th. Would be my recommendation if that's the direction you want to go. One other thing that I think the applicants should just consider, I don't remember if the goal is to remove the existing home on the north lot, but that house or the attached garage on the south lot line is non-conforming to the south lot line. So if they're going through this process, it may benefit you to adjust that lot line so that both lots conform to the side yard setbacks. It's just one way you'd make that lot a little bit bigger while you give the other lot a little room too. And those were the two things. Just wanted them to be aware of that and for you to consider the 7/10/2020 CSM.
So how does he reference the original?
7/10.
7/10,
Yeah, but-
okay.
But so, and this is, we're referring this to council as well?
Yes, so that's the other
So we're
unique.
just looking for the CSM on this?
Yes,
Okay.
well, the CSM and make a recommendation to Common
Okay.
Council to approve the special exception. That was the other unusual, the other special exception does not require Common Council approval, this one does. So we just want to make the code more consistent.
Follow the code.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map for this item that's dated July 10th, 2020, and recommend to council.
Want to subject that to the surveyor comments?
Good point.
Correct,
Yep,
subject to
that's
the
it.
surveyor comments.
Is there anything, okay, I missed something, I think. Did you need to talk about the special exception in any place
No.
here or no?
No.
Okay,
Well, the special exception is part of the motion. They need to make a recommendation to Common Council to approve the special exception.
That is what I intended to say.
Okay.
So recommend to council to approve the CSM by granting a special exception and for their approval.
okay.
And we don't need to reference the number 7/10?
He did.
He did.
You did,
Did.
okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Subject to surveyor
Yep.
conditions and 710.
Yep, okay. Thank you,
Second.
it makes sense.
And-
I'm sorry.
You know, I'll,
Did you get the second?
Was it Dave? Okay,
and
thank you.
I mean, I'll just make a comment that understanding my understanding of the intent of a lot of these, especially lakeshore lot line recommendations and whether you're creating a new lot or not is all around density and just turning the lake into something that it wasn't intended to be. And we're not creating a new lot here. They're really optimizing use of existing properties and just straightening it out. I mean,
Yeah.
and even whether it creates a little bit of a nonconformity in one that doesn't have one, you're ending up with an optimal end result that's, I think, consistent with the code. So that's where I'm basing the exception on that thought.
And I agree with you, and we're following the process, we're having the discussion about it, we're, either going to agree or disagree that we believe all these comments are true, and which I do as well, and we're going to move forward.
One quick question before we move on. If they so choose to move that lot line by the road, do you feel that you need to see that, or can that go to straight to Common Council?
Straight to council on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to
Abstentions?
abstain because of the family connection.
Okay.
You were going to vote against, weren't you?
No, I'm not
You
going
just want to be
there.
invited for Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you're all approved
All right, thank you
to
very
go
much.
to Common Council.
Expensive.
Like in 2 weeks, right, or something, 3 weeks?
Monday.
August 7th.
Yeah.
Third?
Good point. You're probably ready to go right to Common Council. Monday.
No. Monday's
17th.
The 3rd?
Oh,
We have we added an extra meeting this month. We have 2 common council meetings in August.
Yeah, confirm the agenda that's posted. Is someone going to contact them or they just?
Well,
Look
and
at the agenda.
actually, you can be on the August 3rd agenda, but Mark, can you meet the surveyor comments? We do want the surveyor comments met before common council, and I know Tom wants the agenda posted tomorrow.
You okay
So-
waiting to the 17th? Okay.
I didn't know, I was just asking.
Well,
Yeah. We had to think.
We're moving too quick for you. All right. So 6A is done. And we're on to 6B, DELC 0793.988-207 Genesee Street, Delafield. Owner, Kettle Moraine School District, applicant Mark Elena? Applicant seeks approval to site plan and appearance to review construction of pavilion and to the improved drainage of Cushing Elementary. If you guys could give your name and address, please. Thank you very much.
I'm Dale Zabel, Director of Facilities and Safety for the School District of Kettle
Thank you.
Moraine.
Just a minor change in the, so I'll give you a current.
Thank you.
Dale, how do I spell your last name?
Z-A-B-E-L.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, Amy.
Okay, so the property is Cushing Elementary. You're probably familiar with it. The property is owned PI public and, or P1, sorry, public and institutional, and the land use plan is institutional. The applicants are proposing a very small pavilion. The building plan, here I'll show you the location first and then I'll show you the building plan. But you can see it's directly west of the building and west of the rear access drive that runs around the building. And then the pavilion, it's just this small 20 by 24, 480 square feet roofed structure. So they're proposing the pavilion, and then that will include some minor grading in order to create the flat spot for a concrete pad. And then as part of that, they are going to add some curb and a new storm sewer inlet to manage runoff from the parking lot and access drives. The grading activities do require an erosion control permit, and Mark has been working with Brian, the city's engineer, regarding the grading, erosion control, and then he did provide, and Mark can explain this more, some more calculations to make sure that the inlet can accommodate the stormwater runoff and that it can be managed and outflow appropriately. So I believe they've gotten to a point where it is reasonable and acceptable, and the final move is to get the erosion control permit before doing any grading activities. So I recommend approval subject to obtaining the erosion control permit in accordance with the engineer's report and subject to the issuance of a building permit. Brian did submit comments as part of an engineer report. Mark's already made changes, which is what you're seeing in the plan that you have here tonight. So I think he's pretty close to getting approval. Do you have anything to add, Mark? Or?
I just had one comment. Their abutting neighbor is Delhart on that side.
No, I received approval yesterday, I believe, from Brian.
Yeah, approval, but you still need to get your erosion control permit.
Yes, we still need an erosion control permit to conduct the work, yes.
Can you please speak into the microphone? Oh, you just got to get it a little closer.
Okay, yes, we have approval from Brian, subject to a permit being applied for construction.
Thank
Okay?
you.
So, we're gonna go out for bid and seek competitive bids for the work. Right, Dave?
Yeah, it's sponsored. The PTO is funding this project. The school district, we have to do all the nuts and bolts, make sure the infrastructure's right. And then the PTO builds the actual structure, similar to playgrounds and other things we do in the district.
I'll make a motion to approve the Cushing School Pavilion, subject to obtaining the erosion control permit in accordance with the engineer's report, and subject to approval of issuance of a building permit.
Second.
Uh-oh.
That was Jim.
Yeah.
That was Jim.
I also say, I was gonna say this park's, I mean, this area is great. It's like a little mini park back there, and I know that the kids do, they mulch in the little trail back there and everything, so
Yeah,
it's a
one
nice
of our-
addition. It's gonna be a cool addition.
Yeah, it's our remote learning, different areas, different things.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 6C, DLC 0804.984, 3195 Hillside Drive, DLC 0804.986, 3325 Hillside Drive, DLC 0804.985, 3215 Hillside Drive. Owner, HSRE Delafield, MOD, LLC, Children's, Wisconsin. Applicant, Poblowski Sign Company, LLC. Applicant seeks approval for permanent signage in order to replace and modernize existing signage with a new brand. Is the applicant here?
So the applicant did call me this afternoon, wondering if they needed to be present, and I believe it was their goal to come. So I don't know if you want me to give a summary.
Give a summary, yeah.
So
Boilerplate, but.
yeah, so it's Children's Wisconsin, or Children's Hospital, you're familiar with it. They're rebranding to Children's Wisconsin. And so they have, all they're doing is proposing to replace existing signage. They've got an entrance sign on the building. They've got a sign that faces 94, which actually covers, two sides of a corner. And then in the red circles on the site plan, there's an off-premise sign on the, Pacific Bistro property that provides entrance to the property. And then there's also the monument sign that serves several users next to Colders, or east of Colders. And so very strangely, this is the other weird thing that happened in the packet this week. So the sign is the same, but that Wisconsin is actually blue, not red. And it's blue on all of the plans that we have, but it showed up red. So I can't explain that, but it's blue. And so they wanted to make sure we were aware of that.
That's funny.
Yeah, so you can see here's an example of how it's blue. So they sent that by email. So really, I can go through the details, but they're replacement signs. It's all in-kind replacement. I do have a condition, though, that asks for detailed lighting and voltage, just to make sure that we know that it's an in-kind replacement for illumination, because they didn't go into detail describing that in their application. And those things have modernized so much over time that just want to make sure it's not brighter. And then we need written agreements from the off-premise owners. We have one of them, and the other one they're looking for. They didn't think they were needed because they have agreements on file to have signage on the property, but the code does say that the owners need to authorize they need to authorize the application.
So I have a question. I think it's fine that they're not here. This is an upgrade, and I understand. Usually it's a problem, but this is a very subtle change. But the one I'm concerned about whether or not this would, the Home Depot sign, the major sign that they're on. There's a couple signs along that stretch where vegetation's really grown up around it. It's hiding it, and I think that's not beneficial for the tenants. So I think it's appropriate to put a caveat in here that if they need to cut any vegetation, that they consult with staff before they do so. Otherwise, because we've seen some pretty nasty butchering jobs. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So unless someone thinks that's a bad idea, I think it'd be reasonable to ask that be part of this motion.
Good idea.
If there's any landscaping that needs to be adjusted, that they just need to consult with staff. So I'll make that motion. So I'll make a motion to approve the Children's Wisconsin sign update, subject to the review of the photometrics by the planner, and subject to any trimming of vegetation around the sign being approved by staff.
And written authorization
And
Written
from the
authorization.
written authorization from the
off-premise owners.
off-premise owners. I mean,
Why would they need
do we,
that?
do we need that?
It's
They
in
already
the-
have a sign.
It's in their agreement?
Yeah.
part
I
of
mean,
the
it's
code.
It's in
Our
the, well,
code.
I haven't seen the agreement, and it's in the code, and it's actually, I looked back, it was part of the previous applications too, that where the owners provided permission.
Fine, okay. I'll
I mean,
leave it
shouldn't
at
be
that.
any problem.
An email or something.
Right.
Leave it at
So do we have a second so we can
So we
discuss?
okay with
Second.
that?
Second, okay.
Are you able to Band-Aid that up? Sally? Okay.
I got it.
Yeah, so the applicant needs to know what the change is, I would think, and I think that's why the code would mention that. This is virtually no change, so the applicant or the budding properties or whatever should not, I would not think have an issue, but what if they want to double the size, right?
Yeah.
Then you definitely want to make sure you got their opinion. I think that would be why it's in the code. And just one question on, right now I believe that sign just says open. Just want to make I'm just commenting that we make sure that it still just says open and doesn't like rotate or change function or flash or do anything like that.
That's all that's written, it's written right there. It's in what they
Yeah.
presented.
It's
Is it?
hard to
It says
see. It
open.
is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not
Open, on or off.
representing.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it stays
We have a second?
the way it is, open.
Yeah.
Oh, there was,
Not.
okay.
There was.
We're discussing a lot.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
It's not
Okay.
red. That sign's not red. That's so bizarre.
That's,
Red's bad.
we didn't
Okay.
approve that.
No. So
It's in the packet.
Yeah, no, so it's not in, we'll make sure that
Chick-fil-A?
I don't know how to describe that. We'll make sure the signage gets preserved
There's
appropriately.
3 letters. Chick-fil-A.
Okay, 6D, ELC 0803.002, 2420 Milwaukee Street, owner applicant Smiley Barn Property Company, LLC. Maria and Glenn Luther. Applicant seeks approval for site plan and appearance review to replace the existing patio and add additional landscaping. Welcome.
Hi.
You guys could just let us know with your name and address, please?
Glenn Luther, 2420 Milwaukee Street, Delafield.
Maria Luther, same address.
And I should say welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Go ahead, Amy, please, Amy.
Okay, so assuming you know where the Smiley Barn is.
Yep.
We do now.
Now you know.
It's lost for a while.
It's back. So the applicant, I'm just going to pull up the site plan here so you can see where the patio is. They have that L-shaped building, and they have a patio on the north side of the building right now. It's dilapidated. I think there's pictures in the packet, and they really want to make sure that they get it cleaned up. So they're just proposing to simply replace the patio, but half of its size, and then landscape the northern half of the area. It does require, and I can go look at some pictures here, it does require the replacement of the retaining wall. And then, let's see. He originally had come in here to propose to redirect the drainage. I'm trying to find the picture. Okay. So there is a little bit of a drainage issue in the parking lot. And it's supposed to go, there's a culvert underneath the patio, and it's supposed to go to the northwest, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it actually doesn't. It sits in this puddle, and they were trying to direct it toward the highway, but they were advised by their engineer that that's not a legal activity to direct drainage toward a highway like that. So all they would like to do is potentially do a little bit of regrading and surfacing here to clean things up a bit. So, we would like to have Mike or Brian review the plans, but it's probably going to be so minor that it won't really require much of an engineering type plan. So I think we just need to understand more about that particular project, and it may just mean a phone call, is what our engineer had thought. So other than that, they're landscaping that northern half, and it is a business use. We don't have a landscape plan. That is something that I can certainly review. This is a pretty minor, insignificant area in the middle of a large parking lot, so I think we can be, that will be a pretty flexible review. So I would recommend approval as proposed, subject to final review and approval of the grading activities by the city engineer and subject to a landscape plan being reviewed and approved by the city planner.
Thank you for improving the property. Greatly
Yes.
appreciated. It's going to look
Yes.
really nice.
Yeah,
It's
picture's
approved.
worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, that patio is a big eyesore right now, and we need to change that.
Yeah, it's not a good toy. I would make a motion to approve as proposed the patio upgrade, subject to final review and approval of any grading by the city engineer and subject to a landscaping plan being reviewed and approved by the city planner.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was 6D. Now we're moving on to 6E. DELC 0800.011, 1825 Sunset View Drive. DELC 0800.012, 1835 Sunset Drive. And DELC 0803.974, 1905 Hillside Drive, Delafield. Owner, Thomas Verdebar. Applicant, Jeffrey Chugum. And Mike Ritter. I've said that name a few times. I've got that one. Applicant seeks approval at certified survey map to build on 2 existing lots that do not have access to a public road and create legal access through the creation of a flag lot and an exception from the section 52.19 to allow a lot less than 5 acres that is served by a private septic system. Amy.
Okay, so we've talked about this as well once or maybe one time?
Here a few times.
Few times, okay. So Mr. Verdebar owns all 3 of these lots. So right now you've got the lot, it's a little hard to see, but you have the lot on Hillside Drive, and then you have 2 lots on Sunset View Drive. In that hatched area is what appears to be a private road. It's owned by the city, but it is not a private road. It's land that the city acquired through tax delinquency. So the applicant is proposing to acquire that acreage. They would like to improve this, the area north of Spring Drive as a private drive to use as maybe more secondary access, and then also provide access from Hillside Drive to both lots. So both lots would have access both directions. And it allows these 2 lots that previously didn't have any access, the ability to build on the properties. In reviewing the CSM, the city would like the pedestrian easement to be provided, and they are providing a 30-foot wide pedestrian easement from Hillside Drive down to what will be Spring Drive, or the corner between Sunset View Drive and Spring Drive, I guess.
You know, that sign Sunset out in the real world, and I live over there, it's always been Sunset View. And it is on the Waukesha GIS Sunset View. I've never heard of Spring Drive.
Oh,
Yeah.
you talked about Indian Springs. You mean
Yeah,
at the
Indian
bottom.
Spring
It's
Drive.
Indian Spring Drive. I
But-
think the
but
survey guy
Sunset
made a
View-
mistake.
Oh,
Paul made a mistake.
Yeah, it's Sunset View.
Paul Milner made another mistake.
But you can't get down or up.
If you're
okay.
fairly mobile, but I just want,
Yeah.
this is very confusing reading this, Mike. I've never heard of that, but.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think I got confused because I drove out there the first time and I couldn't figure it out because of the names of the roads, so good point.
You don't like the view?
It's a nice view up there. You know that.
So some things that do need to be reviewed, I won't go through the long report. All of this was in the previous discussion that we had, but the city attorney and staff do need to review the pedestrian easement language. Also review the access easement to the 2 lots in reverse. So there's an easement to lot 2 from the south, and then there's an easement to lot 3 from the east. We want to make sure that everybody has the appropriate access. Maintenance provisions are identified, and the access from Hillside Drive, although better than Sunset, is still steep. So we do want to review a grading plan to make sure that he can get a driveway off of Hillside Drive within that 30-foot wide width that he's proposing for ownership. Otherwise, it kind of throws off the whole purpose of the certified survey map. Another thing is, I think the last time we met, I had mentioned that a variance was required from Lot 1 because they don't have 5 acres now, but it's getting smaller. Actually, reading through the code, that is an exception, not a special exception like we talked about earlier, but an exception from the Plan Commission. So that's actually your authority to accept that versus the variance route. The city's very supportive of it because the access from Sunset View is not as safe as what should be provided from Hillside Drive. And the fire chief would actually, as a condition, want the addresses and emergency vehicles to come off of Hillside Drive instead. And I think, the driveway has to be 12 feet in width and you have to have 14 feet of high clearance. So we do recommend approval, subject to the fire chief comments being met and subject to compliance with the surveyor comments, which were pending at the time of the submittal of this packet. But he did review the application. I have the letter. It's on the screen. You probably can't read it. Most of it's just note type stuff. The 2 lots have environmental corridor that will be built on. And so we'll have him put a restriction that those lots are entirely corridor and he's limited to 15% disturbance. The way the code actually reads, it's 15% of 5 acres. So we're gonna probably look at building envelopes there. So that's pre-designated on the certified survey map. And then the other was to require a grading. We recommend a grading plan be reviewed and approved to ensure that they can meet within that disturbance limitation and that the driveway will be reasonable off a hillside. And then other than that, it's, again, pretty minor stuff. We also would like to see the inclusion of the remaining acreage. We've talked about this, Jeff, known as Sunset View Drive, as a separate lot or outlot to be owned by the city. So the way the CSM was drawn, the rest of Sunset View Drive is now a remnant piece that won't be described as part of a legal, so they need to include that as another lot.
Are you talking about the east-west part of Sunset View
No,
or the southern part?
Southern, so
Okay.
it just extends a little bit further to the south.
Doesn't that hit that private road right there?
What-
That goes south
Yes.
and turns and goes east?
Let's see if I have
Do you have access to that?
No, only if we only have access if it's icy. I literally have
Oh,
the
where the
language
gate
from, like,
is?
1967 demonstrating that you can only get out that way under icy conditions, otherwise it has a locked gate with a chain around it. So,
Really? I've been up there
Yeah,
3 times
it's
and it never
locked.
has
It,
been.
I know
It's been
Mr.
run for
Wenzel
months.
only could use it in the wintertime.
It's
It would
been-
open it up.
yeah.
He doesn't live there anymore, but
Yeah, because I've been up there 3 times and it's never.
but there's a little
got
trail, it used to be, you just walk past it. You didn't have to open, the gate didn't even have to be open, you just walk right past
No,
it.
this is where you drive it, on the private road.
We're talking
So
about,
you can go up from west to
Because
east,
when you
but
come off
just
that
can't
private
go right
road
or
going
go
north,
south.
it dips down and then these lots, that one house on the corner and then those lots are right straight ahead.
Yes, if you head up there and you take a left, which is to the north,
Right.
there's no gates there.
Right.
But to
However,
the right-
if you were to turn south to the right,
That's
that's
where
where
the
the
gate
gate is. That's what's locked.
yeah.
So the whole
Because I've driven
purpose.
up there 3 times.
Yeah, so Mr. Ferdebar is here this evening with his daughter Pam, and so he had provided the 30-foot swatch to create the flag lot to give us access year-round out to the east. And so the 2 of the things that were required of us in preparation for today was language provided by attorney describing the easement, the 30-foot wide. Obviously, as you can see with the quick deed done on that vacated public land or whatever, we weren't going to include the end part there. We were going to make it 30 feet, as you can see by the black line. So that has been described and provided, and has legal counsel looked that over yet?
They're reviewing it
They're
currently.
reviewing it right now. So that was step 1. The other step, as she mentioned, was there's supposed to be 4 plots showing the remnant, and that was requested of Hilmer and Associates. Unfortunately, we prescribed and provided only 3, as opposed to leaving the rest of the Spring View available, and instead included half of Indian Spring and the name for it. So have you talked to him? Because you and I talked on Thursday. Did you talk to Paul?
I did. I told him he needed to include it,
Okay.
so.
So that
I
is
would recommend,
forthcoming.
you follow up with him. but-
Yeah, I will gladly follow up with Paul to get the correct, which require all 4 plots onto the one survey. And then council will take a look at the legal description my attorney provided as far as allowing pedestrian access, non-motorized vehicles. With that in mind, then we're trying to get the land quick deeded to Mr. Furterbar, and then once he has lots 1 and lot 2, or 3 if you will, then we would purchase them, Mike Ritter and I would purchase from him. So that's our long-term, that's our whole plan. So having spoken with Mr. Furterbar and Pam this week, and kind of wondering obviously in the process how things are going along, I said, well, if you come along with me, we can write down the list of things that I need to do yet, and then we'll all be aware of how we can accomplish this. So that's where we are. So as I understand it, I'll follow up with Mr. Paul Hilmer to make sure that he gets the 4 plots put in there. I'll await word from our legalities as far as the easement is concerned. Other than that, what other steps are necessary?
You were just talking about a quitclaim deed. We'll need to coordinate that with the city's attorney to see how the ordering happens, because it's all kind of contingent upon the CSM going through, and so quitclaiming a little portion of the road without getting that pedestrian easement ahead of time could be a problem. So let's just work out order, I guess.
So everything that was just described,
Yes.
it sounds like this is out of the 4 recommendations that number 3 and 4 in your letter are covering those contingencies. I mean, if approval contingent upon these 4 items includes the detail that was just expressed, right?
I believe so, yes.
I have a question. Is this in the sewer district?
It is not. It will be served by septic. I believe the sewer district it's close, but it's not.
Not a practical.
Yeah, because we talked about that when they
Even where it
first.
goes to the east, none of those streets there, because there's 2. There's Sunset View and...
I would go into the city's GIS, but they're redoing it right now, so I can't get in there. I remember looking at it. It's not far off to the east, but it does not extend this far. And it wasn't, when I asked Mike Court, he said it would be very unlikely for it to come this direction. But you had soil tests done already for soil?
Yeah, I was informed that it wasn't. So I had soil tests done, a perk test done, and based upon how many trees I removed carefully without interfering on land I don't own, we were able to do a traditional, in one of them. One's a traditional, and then the other one's a mound system at this point. But we'll rerun that perk test. But yeah, if it's possible, they could run it down. Do you guys have city sewer?
Pardon?
Do you have city sewer?
No.
No.
No, septic.
So since they're to the east of me, I would say it's not happening.
I have a question or maybe concern. I know the fire chief looked at this, but where lot 1 and 2 meet, that's a 90-degree turn. And I'm concerned, is a moving truck, a septic truck, going to be able to make that 90-degree turn?
Fire engine,
Is it going to be gentle enough? Is there going to be a little curve in there?
hook and ladder.
Yeah, so just correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the approval contingent on the fire chief's review?
Yeah, his comment was really that the driveway be 12 feet in width and 14 feet of height clearance. I don't think he was looking at
That
that
90,
tight
yeah,
turn.
see that
You wanted to make
90-degree
sure-
turn there.
Yeah.
Do you want to make sure he addresses that 90-degree
I think
turn?
so. If you can't get a moving truck in there, or a septic truck, or the
Should be more-
If you get a
fire
fire truck through there,
fire
it should be
truck
good.
is,
Hook and ladder.
well, those bend, but it's those
Yeah.
single-unit trucks, like a septic truck, they are the worst to make those 90-degree turns. So someone should put maybe Homer can put a turning template on that based on a certain size truck to make sure you can make that
I see what
turn.
you're saying.
I hate to go through all this and then you can't even get a moving truck in there.
I mean, or can you even just make that easement a little bit bigger in that area?
contractors.
Yeah, so the
Flatbed would be
easement's
great.
designed for the walkway, right? So that's just why it shows that exact 90.
Right.
As far as the driveway's concerned.
How's the driveway?
Yeah, so this is not driveway orientated. This
Okay.
is walkway. This is the easement granted to the city of Delafield here. So down the middle of this path will be where the minimum 12-foot wide driveway roadway goes, all right, for our access on rare occasion that way. This will be 12 foot here. Now, because this underneath the weeds and other such things, the old pavement, this could be fairly easily paved here, and the driveway for the other lot will be here. So this is gonna have to be a larger patch of pavement anyway,
Okay.
because this is where driveway goes here, and this is where driveway goes there, so.
You can,
Still.
The fire department has to agree to it.
sure. All right.
And Jeff, just to be clear,
Yes.
part of our review of the easement documentation is we do want Lot 3 to have legal access from Hillside Drive through your property for emergency purposes, that they want to bring their emergency vehicles off of Hillside Drive.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
So-
so there will be, between these two lots, there'll be a maintenance fee and perpetual easements.
Yeah.
For the allowances such as that, because even though Mr. Ritter and I are friends, that, one of us isn't gonna live there forever and the other one isn't either. And so, yeah, there will be the allowance to use that shared driveway for access to whatever it might be.
All right.
I had a couple of questions on that walkway, the pedestrian walkway. Now it's 30 feet, 30, what's that, 30 inches?
The easement's 30
The
feet.
easement is
It'll be-
30 feet.
30
It'll
feet.
be, it'll be 12 foot wide.
12 feet wide. And how long is that?
Oh, in total?
Yeah, the distance.
That's a good.
I think it's like 400 and some just on that east leg, so another 8,000, 900 or 1,000?
100 there, and,
Oh,
yeah,
380.
900,000.
So how long did you
Yeah.
say?
About 900.
About 900 to
900 feet?
1,000. I haven't actually done the math, but it looks like nearly 1,000 feet.
380
And are there any other property owners along that area that, other than we've discussed?
There are other property owners. There's one here and one here, as well as this one right here. Now, this particular property owner has a driveway going out to Hillside Drive, essentially adjacent to what we're proposing, and then has a kind of a back gravel access to this area. This particular one here goes out to Hillside Court, and they also have a gravel exit out to this side. So both of them have a primary exit point. This would be a secondary place. Right now, as we discussed last time, there's building materials, paver block, a trailer, some kind of concrete mixer thing back there. It's kind of a public dumping ground,
Yep.
which was the majority of the reason why we wanted to kind of go back, repave it, bring in the trees for the 25 that we're allowed to have for Delafield, and make it look nice. And you guys never wanted it to begin with, so why should pay taxes on it?
So those property owners on the one side, there's no property owners on the other side of that walkway?
Well,
No,
yes.
both sides.
So
Both sides.
this-
Both sides,
Yeah,
yeah.
so there's another adjacent neighbor. So Mr. Furterbar lives here, his house will sell at some point. There's an adjacent neighbor here, another one here, and then there's a somewhat newer couple, maybe 2 years living here. So yes, they are.
And they all abut the pedestrian
They
walkway?
abut
Mm-hmm.
they
What
will
will
not
be?
really abut the walkway, but they will abut the land.
Okay.
So it's really 30 feet wide approximately, and then there'll be about 9 feet either way, which will be tree lined and grass lined. And then there'll be 12-foot parking, so they'll abut the land, but there will be a setback.
Okay. And one last thing on the conditions, I think the limits you put on the easement referred to, it's pedestrian foot traffic only, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it says no motorized or wheeled vehicles,
Correct.
so that means no bikes.
That is our intent, correct.
So no bikes with no other types of non-motorized mechanisms to get people through there?
Yeah, so,
I mean, you're
Laura, I
gonna-
know you've been on this road before, correct? If you go up Sunset View, it is gravelly, potholed, slippery going up. Even though I feel like I'm liability-wise protected, and we've had a lot of conversations about negligence and other such things. That's a dangerous road for anything without four wheels. That's called a car.
Dangerous with a car.
And, you know, with a car on a snowy day.
It's really
a little-
steep, Jim.
Will that be, you plan to pave that?
No, because we don't even own it.
Okay.
So we're gonna pave what we own, which is, brings us to here. This L will remain owned by the city by default because of tax defaults, but it will remain unpaved. Because
It's
you don't own
paved,
it.
but it's all broken up.
Yeah.
It was paved
50-year-old
50 years ago.
But this will be access.
It's pretty dangerous. I don't think a lot of people are gonna necessarily wanna walk on it, but walking on it will be certainly easier and safer than roller skates, rollerblades,
Oh,
little
yeah.
bicycles,
That'd be
kids
deadly.
going down it. They'd kill themselves.
Yeah.
We
Going
used to
down that.
sled on it when we first moved out there in 1970.
My son
Yeah.
used it all the time with
Yeah.
his bike.
You have to be careful.
Well, it is a public access, so people
They
can go
can.
there.
They
Yeah.
can go up and down and slide all they want
Yeah.
to, but we're going to restrict on the ends of our roadway, we will put on signs related to no-wheel traffic, pedestrian walkway, dogs on leash, or
There's
whatever,
a
something like
huge, deep ravine off of that.
that. Yes.
That
Yeah,
if you
because
go
those-
too fast and you
You're in
can't
trouble.
turn fast enough or brake
Yeah,
fast
I
enough,
can
you're
imagine.
down that big ravine.
Yeah,
All right.
Well, those are all important things, the lawyer things that have to be worked
Yeah,
out
in
for
fact,
liability
there-
and also notice to the public what they can or can't do.
Right.
I did have a conversation with Tab Hafner and the mayor and Amy at one point about that other piece, but we all realized there's so many steps to get where we are today, we're deferring any conversation about that for another day. So that is not our ownership, that is not our responsibility.
No, but it is the
It took
city.
enough to get to here, but yeah, it's a
That's
big
why,
safety
that's
issue.
why we're here to
Yeah.
talk about what the
There
city's
was a
doing.
time that I tried to have that paved. The original proposal way back when was to actually share with the city the cost to pave the entirety. And I would pay 50%, Mike and I, you guys pay 50%, it'd be safe as the day is long, but obviously the city's budget said, you know, we're not gonna do that. So we did offer to pay 50% at all, even when we didn't own it at one point. But then when that wasn't gonna work for you, it certainly wasn't gonna work for us, so we're not gonna pay something that isn't ours.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the CSM and creation of lots that do not meet the minimum 5-acre requirements, subject to the following conditions: compliance with the fire chief's comments and concerns about reviewing that one corner to make sure that that's accessible, compliance with all surveyor comments, inclusion of the remaining acreage known as Sunset View Drive as a separate lot or outlot to be owned by the city. City staff and attorney shall review all driveway and pedestrian easement documents. The pedestrian easement will need to be maintained by the lot owners of the newly developed lots and recommend to council the same.
Do you have to add in there about the deed?
What about?
Deed?
I think that can all be arranged as part of the easement documents and, I mean, they have to deal with the ownership, so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, well, I missed that
The
question.
deed, the fact that you guys are proposing a quitclaim deed ahead of time,
The city attorney review?
So
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yeah,
It'll-
a couple of comments. This is a brutal piece of property to develop.
Yes.
I get it. And the lots have been there for a long time. You know, I
50
know-
years.
I've
Yeah.
talked with Mr. Furbar several years ago about some blue tarp covering a boat.
Yes.
That was an eyesore. And so I understand the dilemma that this has caused the property owners and the city for some time, because the aspirations to pave a road up that hill to begin with were kind of silly. But just bringing this up because the title of this item in at least the planner's notes is called flag lots, and that's just something we don't like to do.
Yeah.
But it's a solution here to grant access to existing lots, and that's why we're doing it. So it's why I'm in favor of doing it. And also the septic situation is something we're not real keen on, checking the box and saying, yeah, go throw up a new septic system. But again, it's an impractical solution to expect sewer to get out there to improve the lots that have been established for a long time. This isn't a new subdivision, so that's why I'm in favor of both of those things, which I never like doing. So I just want to make that clear for the record.
Sally, did, on Ed's motion, did that include recommendations 3 and 4 that Amy had prepared? That's all I need.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
I'm really glad that we have a clear path to get these 2 lots developed and increase the tax base for the city of Delafield.
I mean, 2 participants.
We didn't vote on it yet.
Yeah, we didn't vote on it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There you go. Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Jeff.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'll be up there to look at it when it's done.
Long time coming, but figured out a way.
That's the Route 66 photographer.
That's the one.
50 years.
That's right.
Great.
I was trying to track that.
1970.
Great. Okay, folks, we're going to keep on moving here. 7A, zoning and ordinance revision. Items recommended for discussion and possible action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am not going to read all those, that's too many. Applicant is requested the planning commission schedule a rezone of several properties from the B4 General Business District to M1 Limited Industrial District in order to be consistent with the zoning and use on the remaining lots on Kettle Court East. Amy again.
Okay.
Can we just go to the motion?
Yeah.
Do you want?
No, just go ahead. I'm
Are you
just
getting
being
sick
a
of me
smart
talking? No, I'll be real fast. We discovered that several properties on Kettle Court East were Zone B4, and this really is an industrial district and there's quite a few manufacturing uses. So we thought it was important to clean up the properties and rezone them consistent with each other. And then also even the city of Delafield owns a little piece for utilities, right? And it actually fits in the M1 district better than B4 as well. So we thought this was a really good fit, and so I recommend approval to Common Council as proposed, unless you have further questions.
I have one question. There's a comment that's in your letter that says the property owners will not be taxed at a higher rate because assessments are based on existing use.
One of those.
Is that just a caveat for the current property owners to not think that we're doing this to?
So I should.
One of them asked.
Yeah, let
Okay.
me.
I assume that. Somebody asked.
Because I just want to be clear that that's not a guarantee that property taxes aren't going to be
Yes.
changed. It's not going to. They have been and will continue to be
Assessed as they have been. The zoning
as
doesn't
their
change
use and
that.
fair market value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not tinkering with zoning to change assessment rates. They are what they are.
No, we're cleaning up a
So should that
problem.
just be deleted?
It's
No.
not a part of the
No.
recommendation. It's just I just wanted to know that I assumed it was to appease concerns from existing property owners and not something that was going to be some.
But I don't think that needs to be part of the motion.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Let me, I guess, though I do think it's important that I take a step back because, so we did send a letter out to all of the property owners that were impacted and asked if they had any concerns. And we did get, John Barker benefits, it was assumed he was M1 at the time of construction. To the west of him, that property owner just wanted to make sure that the existing uses would still be allowed on the property. And M1 allows limited industrial, but it also allows everything in B4. So he only gets a greater allowance in what he can or can't do. And then the boat storage property, they did ask about taxes, and in my response, I did say the taxes won't increase as a result of this rezone. It doesn't mean that they won't increase over time, but the rezone won't cause an increase, and that was after talking to the assessor. So that is why those items were mentioned in the report. So we did hear from everyone, and ultimately did not have any concerns.
So it's one of those things I wonder, how did it ever happen?
We have a
How is
lot of
that
those
not
things,
him?
Dan, and
I know, but this
I task
is
Amy
newer.
to try to fix one each month.
And that's what happens when you get
I'm
retired.
happy to see it cleaned up.
Sure. No, I've been around here too long. 'Cause I consider that development somewhat modern to the history of the city of Delafield. How that didn't. Anyways, that's my editorial tonight.
I'll make the motion to recommend approval to Common Council as proposed.
Second.
Great, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. Okay. 8A, clerk, planning commission meeting dates and deadlines, meeting August 26, 2020. Meeting submittal deadline is August 11th, 2020. I'll refer you to correspondence. Planner, discuss potential future code amendments.
Okay, so the mayor asked me to provide you a very short, brief list of some thoughts. We don't need to go over these in any kind of detail tonight. We just want to give you an idea of, as I've been reviewing the code for certain matters, and not only that, but Scott has identified a few things, and Tom and Kent have identified a few things. We're making a list. So there is a list, and it's growing regarding code amendments, but in order for that to not be overwhelming, Kent has asked that I, kind of knock off the list one at a time if I can. So this is a list. I don't know if you want to go through it, but you'll essentially see things coming to the Plan Commission in August. I think the first thing that we'll do, and this came from, Jim had asked for a memo, and which was a great idea, asking about the difference between a special exception and a variance, because through that review, there's more exposure to some inconsistencies and what could be done a little bit differently. So I think at that very first August meeting, our goal will be to come to provide more specific direction regarding special exceptions. And then we'll also, again, clarify the difference and provide specific criteria. So I don't think there's a definition for special exception in the ordinance, and there's just some inconsistency as well. So we'll do that, and then there's some statutory language that is changed that's not updated in the code that really should be cleaned up regarding variances and non-conforming structures. There's also statutory changes for conditional uses, and not that you need to be, you don't want to be too reactive without thinking things through, but there are some conditional uses that have no provisions at all, and churches is one of them that was discovered. And you really, with the new statutes, you really should have some criteria and have those criteria be as measurable as possible. So, we'll knock that out as need be. And again, I don't know if you want me to go through this, I can,
No,
but
that's
okay.
That's fine.
That was the easiest answer all night.
But I wasn't done talking.
It's a long
The roadmap
list.
is there
We're
for.
good readers.
My one question for you, Amy, then, like on the variances and the special exceptions, are you going to put together some memorandum on this, or are we just going to
Yes.
free flow the discussion?
No, I did draft a memo, and then that kind of started another conversation, and we decided let's bring both to you at the same time.
That's fine.
So hopefully in August you'll see a memo and the draft code. It'll help kind of explain why the code is being proposed to be amended too, I think.
So you're going to do this like every month, or will be
We're
dealing
gonna
with
try.
one of these or more?
We'll see.
We only have so many hours of Amy's
Yeah.
time that we can allocate, and
Right.
where she finds available time within our budget,
Yeah.
she's going to try to
Just so I know where you're
knock
going.
one of these off. So
It's a
this is-
remedial learning process.
Well,
for all of us.
it's even more than that. We're providing you a roadmap of code changes that we're working on.
Hey, I'm all
Right.
for it, because what happened, well, we had an example tonight, we had a special exception.
Yeah, and
So
if
here
we
we go.
don't have any
It won't be the
criteria
last.
for that, it's pretty hard to know where to go.
Ding, ding, ding. I think that's it, exactly.
It's great.
Okay.
Any other
Thank
questions
you.
about that? Seeing none, we'll go to 8B, 8C, building inspector. Scott is not here tonight, so number 9, we are adjourned at 9.
8:38.
Eight.
I'm sorry,
8:38.
8:38.
38.
8:38.